Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on board. I'm Chris and I'm your flight director. Welcome on board of this Kodiak 100. I'm sure some of you have been waiting for Kodiak 100 content, so here we are. First things first, guys, I want to say thank you very much because we've reached our first milestone on the channel, which is 1000 subscribers, and this is just amazing. I thought it's gonna take forever to reach 1000 subscribers, but here we are. So guys, thank you very much. Let me brief you quickly what we are doing today and where we are and where we are going to. We are in Ambunti Airport, Ambunti Airstrip. It's a little place on the edge of the river, very nice, and we are flying to Mumbil, which is 117 miles away and should take us maybe over an hour to get there. It will be very interesting flight. Okay, so we have this out of the way, so let's get started, guys. Okay, so first let's open our fuel tanks. Now let's turn on our master, battery, also avionics. Let's turn on our beacon light. And let's turn on our screen in our G1000. And let's push our firewall shut off. Now let's start our engine. Let's turn on our fuel pump, our ignition, and we're gonna do low start. Our NG is rising, is already above 14%. Let's introduce our fuel. ITD spiked, everything looks good. Now let's turn off our starter, let's turn off our ignition, let's put our fuel pump into standby position. Let's turn on our auxiliary bus, let's turn on our generator and alternator, and let's push our prop fully forward. Let's sort out our air conditioning. 21 degrees will be just fine. Let's turn down our fans so they won't be as loud. Now let's put our Mumbil Airstrip into our G1000. Our cruising altitude for today is gonna be 6,000 feet. Let's put this in. Let's change our CDI to GPS. Our altimeter is fine because we're not flying with live weather today, because live weather is not the best, so we just use an overcast preset weather. Our initial heading is gonna be 251. Let's turn on our lights, our stop light, navigation light, also taxi light is already on. It's good, we're not gonna use bypass. Now let's do our trims. Kodiak 100 always needs right rudder, a lot of right rudder, so what I like to do is just give him 40 clicks of right rudder. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's done. Our pit trim. Kodiak 100 always needs forward trim. This is done. Today we're going to climb with fly level change with a speed of 111 knots. This is done. Today our temperature is 15 degrees and we are pretty much at sea level. So our sheet tells us to have maximum of torque 1740. We're gonna take 50 out of that because our air conditioning. So we roughly gonna go 1690, 1670 of torque for our takeoff. Also, this is our flight plan. We're gonna take off and pretty much we're gonna fly in a straight line with our heading of 251. Then we're gonna reach this river right here, gonna make left turn, gonna fly into this valley, and hopefully we're gonna reach our runway safe and sound. The Ambunti Airport you see in here and basically was made for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, but I've installed it and worked like a charm in Microsoft Flight Simulator in 2024. We have this out of the way. Let's release our parking brake. First of all, let's turn on our head tracking. Let's check our controls. Everything looks good. Now let's release our parking brake. If you didn't see Kodiak 100 yet, you're new to the flight simming, or you want to hear a little small refresher, Kodiak 100 is one of the hardest turboprops to fly in Microsoft Flight Simulator, especially during the takeoff. It likes to basically bank to the left. If you don't have your trim set up properly, your center of gravity, basically you're gonna bank to the left, you're gonna stall, and you're pretty much done. Okay, let's stop our beautiful Kodiak 100. Let's set our parking brake. Now let's move our conditioning lever to high idle. Our flaps are set, everything is set. Our rotate speed is going to be 65 knots. We're going to rotate about 1630, 1640 with our torque. Now let's turn off our taxi light. Let's turn on our landing light. Okay, so our plan is once we take off, we reach 500 feet, and if we're gonna be above 85 knots, we're gonna reduce our first notch of flaps. Then once we above 95 knots and still climbing safely, we're gonna reduce our flaps completely, and then we're gonna engage autopilot. We're gonna reduce our torque, and we're gonna bring our prop to 2000 RPM. And then we're gonna run our after takeoff checklist. Here we go. Go 1460, 1470, 1480. Okay, this is fine. Let's release our parking brake. .65 knots, rotate. Let's lower our nose a little bit to gain some speed. That's 85 knots. Let's lower one notch of flaps, start trimming our aircraft. Okay, we're climbing safely and we're above 95 knots. Let's lift our flaps completely and start making our right turn towards our initial heading. Okay, this is our 130 knots. Let's slow down. Let's lift up our nose. Okay, let's engage our autopilot. Now let's bring our rudder trim back to the center position. Right here, looks good. Okay, let's turn off our lighting light. Lighting light? No, landing light, I should say. Now let's reduce our torque. Always need to reduce your torque before you reduce your RPM, because your torque spikes every time you pull your RPM back. Let's go to 1350. Now let's pull our RPM back to 2000 RPM. Also, let's turn on our yaw damper. What I like about this Kodiak, actually about that G1000, you know, in Microsoft Flight Simulator, in G1000 you have that little dot and you don't know what direction your aircraft is basically pointing, but this problem it's not existent in G1000 of Kodiak, so at least that. And the OBS is working, look at that, OBS is working, which is amazing actually. Ladies and gentlemen, we just reached our whopping cruising altitude of 6,000 feet and we are getting closer and closer to our destination of Mumbil. Also, if I mentioned, there is some cargo behind you, and if any of the boxes get loose and start flying around the cabin, please fight it off to your best ability and enjoy the rest of your flight. Mumbil Airport elevation is 3,147 feet, so let's set our target altitude of 4,200 feet. As we fly in heading mode, let's set our OBS. Heading of our runway is going to be 132, let's put this in. So as you can see, OBS is very helpful because we can see visually basically our runway heading. Hopefully they're going to fix it in original G1000 in Microsoft Flight Simulator. As I'm looking at our map, I think this is going to be our valley right here. You see this river turns left in here. I think by the look of it we're going to have to fly in here and make our left turn for our Mumbil. Once we reach this river right here, I'm going to hand fly it from here. So just before we reach this point, our plan is to bring our prop back to 2,200 RPM, lower our first notch of flaps, turn on our landing lights, turn off our yaw damper, disconnect our autopilot, and we're gonna hand fly it. This is not gonna be easy, guys, and by the look of things we're gonna have some tailwind. The wind's coming from the right, left, it's kind of behind us, so this is also works not in our favor. Okay, let's start our descent. Let's pull back on our power. Okay, so this is our mountain right there. We need to fly behind this mountain and the airport is right there. Okay, let's disconnect our autopilot. Let's make our left turn. Okay, let's lower our first notch of flaps. Trim our aircraft. Okay, let's stay at this altitude, even a little bit too low, but that's fine, I guess. Let's turn on our landing lights, push our prop fully forward. Oh, I already forgot how difficult it is to fly this airplane. Let's lower our second notch of flaps. Now we should see our runway on the left, behind this mountain, yeah, it's right behind this. Now let's go full flaps. Okay, our prop is fully forward. We have full flaps. Our landing lights are on. Now the question is, you see this little mountain in front of us? Should we go to the left of it and land, or just fly straight in like we are flying right now? And by the way, you never land with Kodiak with the idle. You have about 30-40% of power still on when you touch down, and then you go idle and reverse. Okay, we're 72 knots right now. Everything's looking fine. Might be a little bit too high. We're definitely too high. Okay, that's not gonna work. Gonna go around.
Lift one notch of flaps. 85 knots. Lift second notch of flaps. Keep climbing. Yeah, I knew that's not gonna be easy. Let's make left turn. Let's climb to 5,000 feet. Okay, so let's make our turn into the valley. Let's ease up the power. Let's lower first notch of flaps. Let's continue with our turning. And just slow down to 90 knots. Let's lower our second notch of flaps. Okay, let's go full flaps. Now let's disconnect our autopilot. Oh, I hate this when I touch the trim and it goes suddenly up or down because the autopilot set the trim completely differently. Okay, it's under control now. Guys, Papua New Guinea has no mercy. Now imagine what would happen if this was non-go-around airstrip. If there is no going around, that's it. Game over. I feel like the better way would be to actually fly on the left side of this mountain, but oh, hey.
$500.
Going too fast, but let it be.
Guys, I'm gonna do voiceover from here. I just didn't realize how difficult this landing was, how short this airstrip was. Every time I approached this airport, it looked fine, and all of a sudden I realized I'm too fast, I'm too high, but I decided to land anyway. I hope you don't mind this bad landing, but flying in Papua New Guinea, it's most difficult in the world, so I decided to post it anyway. And another thing, the sound of the airplane maybe it's not the best in this video because I didn't record my voice separately as a voice track. It was on the top of the engine sound because that's the way I've recorded in OBS. And then when I modified my voice to radio voice, kind of, you know, just to have this radio effect, it also modified sound of the engine, so maybe it's a bit quiet and sounds a bit weird, but hey, we actually learning on our own mistakes. So guys, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you being here, and once more thank you for 1,000 subscribers. This is absolutely amazing, and I will speak to you very soon. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it. Stay safe and healthy. Peace.